Every morning, the moment your eyes open, you receive the exact same gift as everyone else on this planet. Exactly 86,400 seconds. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire CEO or a college student living on instant noodles. It doesn't matter if you have 3 degrees or dropped out of high school. Rich or struggling, famous or unknown, everyone gets credited with the same amount of time in their account. The difference? Some people casually spend it like loose change. Others invest it like venture capitalists eyeing the next unicorn. Here's what most people don't realize. Geniuses don't see time as something that just passes by. They see it as the most valuable, non-renewable currency in existence. A currency you can't borrow from tomorrow. A currency you can't buy back once it's gone. Think about it. Lost your savings? You can rebuild your bank account. Phone got stolen? Buy a new one next month. Got fired from your job? There's another company hiring. But that hour you just scrolled through social media, that's gone forever. The 90 minutes you spent in a meeting that could have been an email vanished into the void. That entire evening you spent watching shows you barely remember, erased from your life's timeline. This is why genius-level performers treat time with almost religious respect. They operate on a simple but powerful principle. Money can be replaced. Time cannot. Most of us treat time way too casually. We say things like, "I've got plenty of time," or "I'll do it tomorrow," or "Let me just relax for a bit." These sentences sound harmless, normal even. But here's the brutal truth. This mindset is like a slow-acting poison that gradually kills your momentum, your potential, your future. Geniuses think differently. For them, every single hour is an investment opportunity. Before they commit to anything, they ask themselves one devastatingly simple question. What return will I get for this hour? If that hour will build a skill, strengthen their body, complete a meaningful project, or create a deep connection with someone they care about, that hour is worth it. But if that activity only provides temporary distraction, a quick dopamine hit, or mindless entertainment without any growth, they cut it without guilt or hesitation. This single distinction creates the Grand Canyon-sized gap between average performers and exceptional ones. Let's say you spend an hour watching Netflix. The question isn't whether Netflix is good or bad. The real question is this hour adding anything meaningful to my life? If you've had a brutal day and your mind genuinely needs to decompress, good ROI. But if that same Netflix session becomes a daily default, pulling you away from your goals and dreams, poor ROI. Genius-level thinkers don't make decisions based on emotions or immediate gratification. They make them based on ROI mindset. They don't use time for entertainment and escape. They use it as a construction tool to build the future version of themselves they're aiming to become. Their thinking goes something like this. If I invest this hour today, what will my life look like 6 months from now? This long-term vision is what separates them from the crowd. Many people love to say, I don't have time. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It's rarely about lacking time. It's about lacking clarity. When someone has crystal clear vision about what they want to become, time magically appears. Genius performers invest heavily in clarity. They know exactly where their time should go and where it absolutely shouldn't. This is why they're terrified of random scrolling. Unplanned phone usage feels dangerous to them because they understand that these activities aren't just stealing money, they're stealing life minutes. Imagine this. Every time you pick up your phone without intention, 10 to 15 minutes silently disappear from your life account. No notification, no warning, just gone. That's the reality. Geniuses don't manage time on calendars. They manage it in their consciousness. Their days don't run on autopilot. They run with intention. They don't wake up thinking, "What should I do today?" Instead, they think, "What action will push my life forward today?" Then they design their day accordingly. Here's something most people miss. Not all hours are created equal. 1 hour in the morning is not equivalent to 3 hours at night. A genius understands this deeply. That's why they reserve their high-energy time blocks for high-value work, learning new skills, strategic planning, creative projects. Low-energy time? That's when they handle low-value tasks like responding to messages, checking emails, scrolling through updates. This smart time allocation is what puts them miles ahead of the average crowd. Geniuses view multitasking not as intelligence, but as attention theft. They know that attention is the real currency of time. If your mind isn't fully present, that time is technically already wasted. That's why they work on one thing with complete focus. Short duration, deep focus. That's their formula. Here's another interesting thing. Geniuses don't try to look busy. They measure productivity not by hours worked, but by outcomes achieved. You could work 10 hours and produce 0 results. That's time loss. Or you could work 2 hours and create meaningful output. That's time investment. For them, time isn't about doing more, it's about doing right. Every week, they conduct a personal review session. They ask themselves, where did my time go this week? Which activities gave me growth? Which ones just gave me comfort? And the following week, those comfort zone activities start quietly disappearing. No dramatic change, no overnight transformation, just silent elimination. Slowly, their days become cleaner. Noise decreases. Focus amplifies. And this process, over months, compounds into massive success. Geniuses also understand something counterintuitive. Rest is an investment too, if it's intentional. Quality sleep, nature walks, silence, meditation. These aren't time wasted, they're energy recharges. But forced rest, guilt-based scrolling, endless social media reels, that's time leakage. The difference is purely about intention. If an activity prepares you for the next level, investment. If it keeps you stuck in the same place, expense. This is why geniuses never casually say, "Let me just pass some time." For them, passing time means passing life. They know that the future isn't some separate day that arrives magically. The future is built from today's hours. Every small decision you make, picking up your phone, opening a book, going for a walk, sleeping late, these are votes for the person you're becoming. And geniuses always vote for the person they want to become. If today 1 hour went into learning a skill, your future got stronger. If that same hour went into distraction, your future got weaker. Simple math. No magic, no motivational speeches, just time respect. So if you genuinely want to change your life, you must first adopt this foundational mindset. Time is unbuyable currency. Don't spend it. Invest it. Every morning, you receive 86,400 seconds. By night, your balance returns to zero. No carry forward. No rollover. The only question is, where did you invest it today? Because the difference between a genius and an average person isn't intelligence. The difference is how they use time. We all have 24 hours in a day. But here's the reality check most people miss. Not every hour carries equal power. Some hours arrive when your brain is razor sharp. Ideas flow effortlessly. Focus builds naturally. Everything clicks. Then there are other hours when that same brain feels sluggish. Even simple tasks feel overwhelming. Your motivation vanishes into thin air. Geniuses understand this difference profoundly. They know that productivity doesn't come from time, it comes from energy timing. Most people think if they just work hard all day, results will follow. But geniuses don't ask, how many hours did I work? They ask, what did I accomplish during my most powerful hours? This is called prime time, the biological peak of your day when your mind operates at maximum capacity. Most active, most clear, most creative. Here's the fascinating part. Everyone's prime time is different. Some people wake up feeling like their brain got an overnight software upgrade. These are morning larks. Others find their brain comes alive at night. Sluggish mornings, but idea floods after sunset. These are night owls. The problem starts when we ignore our body clock and try to live on society's clock instead. If your brain performs best at night, but you force yourself to wake at 5 a.m. for deep work, it simply won't happen. You'll just build frustration and start labeling yourself as lazy. But you're not lazy. You're misaligned. Geniuses don't blame themselves. They study their patterns. They observe carefully. At what time does reading feel effortless? When does writing flow fastest? When do decisions come easily? When do distractions feel minimal? This is how they discover their prime time window. Usually, it's just 2 to 3 hours, not the entire day. But if those 2 to 3 hours are used correctly, even if the remaining 21 hours are average, life keeps moving forward. Geniuses know these. Hours are more valuable than gold, so they protect them fiercely. During prime time, no calls, no emails, no messaging apps, no meetings, no social media. Why? Because all those tasks are low-value activities. They might be necessary, but they're not life-changing. Prime time is reserved for one thing only: deep work. Deep work means tasks that require your brain, focus, creativity, and produce long-term impact. Like learning a high-income skill, writing, designing, coding, planning future strategy, building projects, studying difficult subjects, creating content. These are tasks that can never happen in distraction. That's why geniuses say, don't bring shallow work into power hours. Imagine your brain is a Ferrari engine and you're driving it in traffic. That's exactly what happens when you check emails during prime time. Emails never end. Messages never complete. Notifications are infinite. But prime time is limited. When it's gone, that day's highest quality energy is gone too. Many people say, I just can't focus. Actually, their focus isn't broken. They're just demanding focus at the wrong time. You can't ask midnight to behave like morning. Similarly, expecting high performance from low energy hours is unfair to yourself. Geniuses don't fight their energy, they flow with it. They tackle difficult tasks during prime time and save easy tasks for the rest. Just like in the gym, you lift heavy weights first, not after exhaustion. The same principle applies to the mind. Prime time plus hard tasks equals faster growth. Non-prime time plus hard tasks equals burnout. This is why geniuses rarely burn out. Their days run in natural rhythm. Another interesting fact: prime time stays consistent daily. Your body clock loves consistency. If you keep trying deep work at different random times, your brain gets confused. But if you focus during the same window every day, your brain automatically starts preparing. Distractions feel less tempting. This habit gradually transforms into flow state. Flow is that magical moment where time disappears. You're so immersed in work that hours feel like minutes. Geniuses don't treat flow as luck. They create it through routine. Prime time comes from routine, not motivation. That's why they avoid social commitments during these hours. Many people think this is rude, but geniuses know, if I give my best hours to others, nothing remains for myself. This isn't selfishness, this is self-respect. When your best time doesn't go toward your growth, your future weakens. And here's the most dangerous part. The regret of wasting prime time doesn't hit you that same day. It hits you years later when you realize that despite having potential, your life didn't become what it could have been. Geniuses live from awareness, not regret. They know one distracted day equals nothing special, but 300 distracted days equal wasted life. That's why they make at least 2 to 3 hours sacred every day. During that time, phone silenced, door closed, mind fully present. No perfect environment needed, no motivational speech required. Just clarity that this is my most valuable window. Gradually, these 2 to 3 hours begin compounding. Small improvement daily, visible progress weekly. identity shift monthly. And a year later, people say, "Wow, you suddenly got so far ahead." But the genius just smiles, because they know it wasn't sudden. It was just prime time used right. Remember, there are 24 hours in a day, but destiny is built in just 2 to 3 hours. If you control those hours, the rest of your life automatically starts aligning. So don't call yourself lazy. Don't call yourself confused. Just identify your biological peak. Because when a person learns to live in their prime time, even average effort starts producing extraordinary results. And that's the genius mindset. Work smart, not just hard. Work at the right time. Has this ever happened to you? A brilliant idea suddenly strikes your mind. An idea so powerful it makes your heart race. An idea that makes you think, if I actually do this, my entire life could change. In that moment, everything feels possible. Energy runs high. Your mind feels crystal clear. The future looks incredibly bright. But then one day passes. Then 2 days. Then that same idea returns to your memory, and you think, "Man, that was such a good idea. But I'm just not in the mood right now." This is the most dangerous place to be. Genius performers understand this trap intimately. That's why they follow one simple but devastatingly powerful rule. The 24-hour rule for ideas. The rule is straightforward. If you get a strong idea or inspiration, you must take some action on it within 24 hours. The action can be small. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to happen. Because inspiration isn't permanent. It has an expiration date. Inspiration is like a spark. If you don't light the fire immediately, it fizzles out. High performers know that inspiration has a half-life, just like medicine. In the first 24 hours, the emotion is strong, belief is high, doubt is low. But after 24 hours, logic starts creeping in. Fear begins speaking. Excuses line up at the door. On day 1, you think, "I can do this." By day 3, you think, "People like me don't do things like this." This shift isn't about capability. It's the result of delay. Geniuses know that an idea's real enemy isn't failure. Its enemy is waiting. We often say things like, "Let me plan it out first, then I'll start." Or, "The timing isn't right yet." Or, "Let me learn more before I begin." But here's the truth. Plans don't come from inspiration. They come from action. If you don't take the first step on an idea, it remains just imagination. That's why the 24-hour rule doesn't demand you complete the entire project. It simply asks you to take the first step. For example, got a business idea? Buy the domain name. Want to write a book? Write the outline. Thinking about a YouTube channel? Create the channel. Considering a collaboration with someone? Send that message or make that call. Fitness journey idea hit you? Put on your shoes and go for a walk. The action should be small but real, because your brain interprets action as a seriousness signal. When you take action, your mind understands this isn't just a dream, This is intention. And intention creates momentum. Momentum is what separates ordinary people from high performers. Ordinary people wait for motivation. High performers create momentum. Inspiration's job is to start you. Discipline's job is to keep you going. But if you never start, discipline becomes useless. Many people have lost hundreds of ideas throughout their lives. Some app concept, some startup thought, some book dream, some skill they wanted to learn. Today, all those ideas exist only as one sentence. I once had this idea in my head. Genius-level people don't have more ideas. They just don't let ideas escape. They respect inspiration because inspiration is rare. It doesn't come every day. And when it does come, it knocks on your door. If you don't open that door immediately, it walks away. And sometimes it never returns. The 24-hour rule is how you catch that door. This rule has a psychological effect too. When you start taking fast action on every idea, your brain begins giving you more ideas. Why? Because the brain operates on a reward system. If an idea comes and gets ignored, the brain thinks, waste of time, why bother sending more? But if an idea comes and action follows, the brain understands, oh, this person is serious. Then the inspiration frequency increases. This is why creative people continuously generate ideas. They're not lucky, they're responsive. Here's another critical point. Taking action within 24 hours kills perfectionism. Perfectionism says, everything must be perfect before I start. The 24-hour rule says, it'll be messy, and I'm starting anyway. Because clarity comes from movement, not from thinking. Until you start walking, the path won't reveal itself. And this is why geniuses stay out of overthinking loops. They don't have time to romanticize ideas. They make them practical. Once you take the first step, the idea is no longer yours. It becomes a process. Now it doesn't run on feelings. It runs on systems. And systems are always more powerful than inspiration. This rule also weakens fear, because fear lives in the future. Action lives in the present. The moment you take that first small step, fear's volume automatically decreases. You don't suddenly gain confidence, but courage activates. And courage comes before confidence. Geniuses aren't confident people. They're courageous people. The 24-hour rule is how you practice courage. Every time you take action despite doubt, your identity shifts. You become the person who does more and thinks less. Gradually, your self-image transforms. You stop seeing yourself as a dreamer. You start seeing yourself as a builder. And builders live different lives. They have fewer regrets, because regret comes from things we never started. Unfinished tasks don't haunt you. Never started tasks do. So next time an idea hits, whether small or big, make yourself a promise. I won't let this idea die for more than 24 hours. I won't complete it, but I will start it. Because the beginning is the most powerful moment. And remember, ideas don't change lives. Action does. A small step taken within 24 hours can sometimes redirect your entire future. That's the true power of the 24-hour rule. We all spend time waiting every single day, waiting for the bus, train delays, traffic signals, hospital waiting rooms, waiting for a friend to arrive. These small moments feel normal to us. We think, it's just 5 to 10 minutes. What can really be done? But geniuses flip the entire game here. They don't see these moments as dead time. They call them hidden lifetime. Time that's invisible but becomes massive by year's end. The average person pulls out their phone during these moments. Reels, shorts, memes, random scrolling. 5 minutes becomes 25 before you realize it. Your mind feels heavy, but you've learned nothing. Geniuses turn those same 5 to 10 minutes into university time. For them, every waiting moment becomes a moving classroom. This habit is called zero wait time, meaning no wait in life should ever be empty. Now, this doesn't mean becoming a robot who's productive every single second. It simply means when your mind is idle, fill it with knowledge, not junk. Geniuses hate dead time because they know it looks small but compounds into life-eating proportions. Think about it. If you wait just 30 minutes daily, in travel, in lines, waiting for someone, that's 30 minutes times 365 days equals approximately 180 hours annually. 180 hours means enough time to learn an entire skill, study a new language's basics, read 20 to 25 books, or gain knowledge that redirects your life. But most people donate these 180 hours to Instagram. Geniuses don't do that. Their bag always contains something: a book, an audiobook, a podcast playlist, or a small notepad. They don't know where they'll wait today, but they stay prepared. Preparation is intelligence. When everyone else is bored, the genius is learning. This single difference changes destinies over years. The biggest advantage of zero wait time? It doesn't demand extra time. You don't need to wake up earlier. You don't need to cut sleep. You don't need to sacrifice anything from life. Just shift time that's already being wasted. Remove scrolling. Add learning. This switch turns average into exceptional. Another interesting thing, learning during waiting time feels easier because there's no pressure, no exams, no targets, just light learning. Read 5 pages. Listen to 10 minutes of a podcast. Note down one idea. This isn't heavy studying. This is mental nutrition. Just like your body needs a little food daily, your mind needs a little knowledge. Geniuses don't binge knowledge. They take daily sips, small amounts, but consistent. This consistency works like compound interest. Zero wait time also boosts creativity. When you consume high-quality content during idle moments, your mind starts asking better questions. Ideas begin connecting. Patterns emerge. Thinking level elevates. And all this happens without extra effort. Just the right input instead of the wrong app on your phone. Average people say, "I don't have time to read." Geniuses say, "I have plenty of time to wait." The moment perspective shifts, results shift. A year later, the difference becomes obvious. One person remains the same job, same thinking, same problems. The other person has new vocabulary, better clarity, confident conversations, sharper decisions. Both didn't invest extra hours. They just used waiting time differently. Zero wait time builds an identity. You gradually become someone who simply can't sit idle. Not because of restlessness, but because of curiosity. And curiosity is the most common habit among geniuses. This habit forms from small moments. If you want, you can start today. Next time you're waiting somewhere, skip the reels for just 10 minutes. Read one page. Listen to one audio. Write one thought. That's it. No big revolution needed. But remember, by year's end, these tiny 10-minute blocks combine into an entire university degree. And here's the funny part. Average people never understand how the genius got ahead. They see luck, talent, timing. But the real reason? Zero wait time. Where the world gets bored, the genius gets built. Every day we make hundreds of small and big decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which message to reply to, which call to answer, which task to do first. These decisions seem minor, but gradually they exhaust the mind. This exhaustion is called decision fatigue, a state where your brain gets so overloaded that the power to make good decisions simply decreases. Then a person either says yes to everything or can't start anything at all. Many talented people slow down for this exact reason. They don't lack intelligence. They lack clarity. Geniuses understand this problem early. That's why they handle every task not with emotion, but with framework. The most powerful system among them is delete, delegate, defer, do. This framework is simple but life-changing. Its purpose isn't to increase work, it's to decrease mental load. Whenever a new task, message, request, or responsibility appears, a genius doesn't immediately start working on it. First, they run it through this 4-step filter. First question, delete, meaning, is this task actually necessary? Most of us make this mistake. We assume everything that comes our way must be important. But the truth? 60 to 70% of tasks are actually unnecessary. Some meetings are just formalities. Some calls happen out of habit. Some requests get accepted out of guilt. Some notifications exist only to steal attention. Geniuses maintain ruthless clarity. If a task isn't connected to goals, doesn't provide growth, or doesn't add future value, they delete it without guilt. Delete doesn't mean being rude. Delete means removing noise from life. Behind every yes hides a no. If you're saying yes to everyone, you're saying no to your future. That's why geniuses know. If a task can be eliminated, there's no reason to do it. Second step, delegate. Meaning, can someone else do this task at 80% quality? We often think, I have to do this myself. But that's an ego trap. If someone can deliver 80% of your quality, a genius hands it over. Why? Because saving your time and energy matters more than 100% perfect work. Geniuses know their job isn't to do everything. Their job is to do the right things. So, accounting, editing, scheduling, replying, designing, these tasks get delegated. Even if it costs a little money, time gets saved. And time is always more valuable than money. Delegation isn't weakness. Delegation is leadership. If you keep doing every small thing yourself, you'll never work on the big picture. Third filter, defer. Meaning, does this task need to be done right now? Many tasks are important, but not urgent. The problem? We confuse urgent with important. Notifications feel urgent, but aren't life-changing. Planning feels boring, but determines the future. Geniuses don't react instantly, they put it on the calendar. If a task isn't urgent, they schedule it. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., Saturday morning, next week. This gives the mind relief. Now the brain doesn't have to remember constantly. The task enters the system. Deferring doesn't increase procrastination. It increases clarity. Because now the task isn't hanging, it has a set time. Fourth and final step, do. If a task didn't get deleted, can't be delegated, and can't be deferred, the genius does it immediately. No delay, no overthinking. Because such tasks are rare, high value, and urgent. Geniuses know that hesitation on these tasks is dangerous, so they execute. The biggest power of this framework? It saves the mind from constantly making decisions. Now you don't need to think differently about every task. Just ask 4 questions. This clears mental clutter. The mind lightens. Focus increases. Speed increases. This is why high performers make fast decisions. They're not smarter. They're less confused. Average people keep thinking about every small task. Geniuses build a system. And systems are more reliable than emotions. If you start practicing this framework daily, one change will appear quickly. Your day will feel more controlled. Now tasks won't chase you. You'll control tasks. Life's stress won't disappear, but chaos will decrease. And when chaos decreases, creativity returns. This is why geniuses look calm. They have the same 24 hours, but they have more clarity. Delete gives them freedom. Delegate gives them leverage. Defer gives them peace. Do gives them progress. 4 simple words, but powerful philosophy. If you truly want to grow fast, before increasing effort, decrease decision fatigue. Because an exhausted mind can never make genius decisions. And this framework gradually transforms you from a busy person into an effective person. We've heard the same advice since childhood. Manage your time and everything will be fine. Make a diary. Write to-do lists. Set alarms. Fill your calendar. But even after doing all that, at the end of the day, it feels like you were incredibly busy, yet nothing significant happened. Why? Because the problem isn't time, the problem is energy. You could have 5 free hours, but if your body is exhausted, your mind feels heavy, and your focus is 0. Those 5 hours won't produce anything meaningful. This is what geniuses understand early. They don't manage time, they manage energy. Because time is equal for everyone, but energy? Energy is never equal. Energy determines whether an hour becomes average or extraordinary. You've probably noticed, sometimes in just 30 minutes, you accomplish more than what normally takes 3 hours. And other times, you sit the entire day and produce nothing. The difference isn't time, it's your state of mind and state of body. Geniuses call this work in the right state, not just the right schedule. When a person works in a tired state, they're in zombie mode, eyes open but brain shut down. In that condition, work doesn't progress, only exhaustion grows. Geniuses fear the zombie state. They know an exhausted mind can work hard, but it can't create. That's why they design their lives according to energy cycles. The human brain isn't built to work non-stop. Nature created us with rhythms: day-night rhythm, sleep-wake rhythm, focus-relax rhythm. If we break this rhythm, burnout arrives. If we follow it, flow arrives. This natural pattern is called the ultradian rhythm. According to this rhythm, our brain can work in deep focus for approximately 90 minutes. After that, energy naturally starts dropping. If we keep pushing ourselves during that drop, quality decreases. Geniuses don't fight this decline. They accept it. 90 minutes of deep work, then 15 to 20 minutes of proper break. This cycle keeps them in genius state. But here's the thing. A break doesn't mean phone scrolling. Watching reels doesn't provide rest. Instead, it drains energy further. High-quality recovery includes walking, drinking water, stretching, deep breathing, closing your eyes, looking out the window. These kinds of breaks recharge the brain. That's why geniuses say, rest is not a reward after work. Rest is a requirement for great work. The Pomodoro technique also operates on this principle. 25 minutes of focused work, 5-minute break. This technique is incredibly powerful for beginners because it doesn't let the brain get scared. 25 minutes feels short. The mind doesn't build resistance, and gradually the focus muscle strengthens. Time management says, finish work, then rest. Energy management says, rest so your work becomes excellent. This mindset separates elite performers from everyone else. Geniuses know energy doesn't come just from sleep. Energy exists on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. If the body is weak, focus won't build. If the mind is cluttered, creativity won't come. If emotions are negative, motivation won't stick. That's why they don't just work, they create energy rituals. Like proper sleep, morning sunlight, light exercise, clean food, digital breaks, silence time. These aren't time wasted, these are energy investments. Average people think, if I rest this much,
when will I work? Geniuses think, if I don't rest, how will I do good work? This difference marks the line between burnout and brilliance. An exhausted person and a focused person don't differ in intelligence. They differ in energy state. When energy is high, difficult tasks feel easy. When energy is low, easy tasks feel like burdens. That's why geniuses mix heavy and light tasks in their day. High energy time gets thinking, writing, creating, planning. Low energy time gets emails, calls, admin work. They don't do similar energy tasks consecutively because monotony eats energy. Movement gives energy. Variety maintains it. Geniuses don't drain themselves, they sustain themselves. Another critical insight: energy isn't just about physical stamina. Mental energy comes from clarity. Emotional energy comes from purpose. Spiritual energy comes from alignment. When all four align, you enter peak performance state. And in peak state, even ordinary effort produces extraordinary results. Average people push through exhaustion, thinking it's discipline. Geniuses recognize exhaustion as a signal to shift gears. They know the difference between productive discomfort and destructive burnout. Productive discomfort: you're challenged but energized. Destructive burnout: you're depleted and numb. One builds you, the other breaks you. This is why the smartest performers track not just what they did, but how they felt while doing it. They ask, was I energized or drained? Did this task fuel me or deplete me? Based on answers, they restructure. They eliminate energy vampires, tasks, people, environments that consistently drain without adding value. And they double down on energy sources, activities, relationships, spaces that recharge and inspire. Energy management isn't about working less. It's about working smarter with the fuel you have. Think of yourself as a high-performance vehicle. You wouldn't run a sports car on low-quality fuel and expect peak performance. Yet we do this to ourselves constantly, running on junk food, poor sleep, toxic inputs, and wondering why we're not achieving more. Geniuses treat their energy like sacred fuel. They protect it, optimize it, and never waste it on things that don't matter. So here's the shift. Stop asking, do I have time for this? Start asking, do I have energy for this? Because time without energy is just empty hours. But energy focused on the right things, that's how legends are built. Let's talk about something most people completely overlook: batching. This is one of the most underrated productivity hacks geniuses use to preserve mental energy and maximize output. Here's how it works. Instead of switching between different types of tasks all day long, you group similar tasks together and handle them in one focused block. For example, instead of checking emails 47 times throughout the day, yes, studies show the average is that high, you batch all email responses into two 30-minute blocks, one mid-morning, one late afternoon. Done. Instead of hopping on random calls whenever someone pings you, you set specific call windows, maybe 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Everything gets scheduled within those windows. Instead of creating content sporadically
Whenever inspiration strikes, you dedicate Monday mornings to content creation, writing 3 articles, recording 5 videos, designing 10 graphics, all in one session. Why does this work so powerfully? Because every time you switch task types, your brain needs transition time. That transition costs energy. It's called cognitive switching cost, and most people bleed massive amounts of mental power through constant switching without even realizing it. Imagine you're writing a report, then suddenly you check a message, then jump on a call, then back to the report, then browse something online, then return to the report. Each switch requires your brain to reload context. What was I working on? What's the goal? Where was I? This reloading process isn't instant. Research shows it can take 15 to 25 minutes to regain deep focus after a distraction. And if you're switching every 10 minutes, you never even reach deep focus. You're operating in permanent shallow mode. Geniuses avoid this trap through batching. When they write, they only write. When they handle admin tasks, they knock out all admin tasks. When they brainstorm, they dedicate a block purely to creative thinking. This isn't rigidity. This is intelligent design. Another massive benefit of batching, it reduces decision fatigue. Remember that framework: delete, delegate, defer, do. Batching supercharges it, because now you're not making micro decisions constantly throughout the day. You've pre-decided when certain task categories happen. Emails? Batched at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Meetings? Batched on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Content creation? Batched Monday mornings. Learning time? Batched every evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Your day gains structure without feeling suffocating. Freedom within framework. That's the sweet spot. And here's something counterintuitive. Batching actually increases creativity, not decreases it. Why? Because when your mind isn't constantly interrupted, it can go deeper. It can explore. It can connect ideas that wouldn't surface during shallow, fragmented work. You know those breakthrough ideas that seem to come out of nowhere? They don't come from nowhere. They come from sustained focus, the kind only possible when you protect extended time blocks from interruption. Geniuses structure their weeks around these protected blocks. They don't leave their calendar open to randomness. They architect it intentionally. Monday, deep creative work. Tuesday, collaboration and communication. Wednesday, strategy and planning. Thursday, execution and implementation. Friday, review, learning, and improvement. Obviously, adapt to your situation. The exact structure matters less than having one, because structure creates space, and space creates genius. Average people think structure limits freedom. Geniuses know structure enables freedom. Freedom from chaos, distraction, and the constant mental drain of figuring out what to do next. So if you want to perform like a genius, stop glorifying the hustle of doing everything all the time. Start batching your tasks, protecting your focus blocks, and managing energy like the finite resource it is. Because at the end of the day, the person who wins isn't the one who worked the most hours. It's the one who worked the smartest hours with the highest energy in the right state, doing the most important things. That's not luck. That's design. Now let's address one of the biggest myths in productivity culture: the glorification of being busy. Somewhere along the way, society started equating busyness with importance. If you're not exhausted, if your calendar isn't packed, if you're not constantly stressed, you must not be working hard enough, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Geniuses see through this illusion immediately. They know that looking busy and being effective are often opposites. In fact, the busiest people are frequently the least productive. Why? Because they're confusing activity with achievement. Activity is motion, achievement is progress, and they're not the same thing. You can attend 12 meetings in a day and accomplish nothing. You can answer 200 emails and move 0 projects forward. You can work 14 hours and produce less value than someone who worked 2 focused hours. Geniuses measure productivity by one metric only: meaningful output. Did something valuable get created, completed, or moved significantly forward? If yes, productive day. If no, wasted day, regardless of how many hours were worked. This is why they're ruthless about protecting their time from low-value activities disguised as work. Meetings that could have been emails. Calls that didn't need to happen. Reports nobody will read. Projects that don't align with core goals. They ask one brutal question before committing to anything. Will this create disproportionate value? If the answer is no, they decline. Politely, professionally, but firmly. Because they understand opportunity cost. Every hour spent on low-value work is an hour not spent on high-value work. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. You can't do everything. Trying to do everything guarantees you'll do nothing exceptionally well. Geniuses choose exceptional over average every single time. They'd rather do 3 things brilliantly than 30 things mediocrely. This requires saying no, a lot, to good opportunities, not just bad ones. Because good is the enemy of great. If your calendar is full of good commitments, there's no room for great ones. Think about it. Every successful person you admire got there not by doing more, but by doing less. Fewer things, but the right things, with complete focus. Warren Buffett famously said his success came from saying no to almost everything. Steve Jobs said innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Derek Sivers has a rule. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. These aren't lazy people. These are people who understand leverage. They know that one right decision can make 1,000 wrong decisions irrelevant. So stop glorifying exhaustion. Stop competing for who's busiest. Stop treating your overflowing calendar as a badge of honor. Instead, compete for who's most focused, who's most intentional, who's creating the most value with the least wasted effort. Because the goal isn't to fill every hour. The goal is to make every hour count. Geniuses don't aim to work more hours than everyone else. They aim to make their hours work harder than everyone else's. And that's a completely different game, one that doesn't require burnout, just clarity. Let's talk about something that separates world-class performers from everyone else. Strategic laziness. Yes, you read that right. Laziness. But not the kind that keeps you on the couch binge-watching shows. This is intelligent, purposeful laziness. The art of doing absolutely nothing that doesn't need to be done. Geniuses are strategically lazy. They're obsessed with elimination. They constantly ask, what can I stop doing? Not, what more can I add? Because here's the paradox. The more you eliminate, the more you accomplish. Every task you remove creates space. Every commitment you decline preserves energy. Every distraction you delete sharpens focus. Think about your typical day. How many things do you do simply because you've always done them? How many meetings do you attend out of habit, not necessity? How many tasks exist on your list just because nobody questioned whether they should be there? Geniuses question everything. They audit their activities ruthlessly, and they cut without mercy. There's a famous story about Elon Musk at Tesla. He once told his team, "I want you to delete every part, process, and requirement you possibly can. If you're not occasionally adding things back in, you're not deleting enough." That mindset, aggressive elimination, is what allows some people to achieve in 1 year what takes others a decade. It's not because they have more time. It's because they waste less of it. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say you're working on a major project. Most people approach it like this. What do I need to do to make this successful? That's a decent question, but it's incomplete. Geniuses ask, what can I not do and still make this successful? This flips the entire framework. Now you're hunting for efficiency, not just effectiveness. You're looking for the 20% of actions that will produce 80% of results. The Pareto principle in action. Maybe that project doesn't need 15 features. Maybe 3 will do. Maybe that presentation doesn't need 40 slides. Maybe 10 will hit harder. Maybe that report doesn't need to be 30 pages. Maybe 3 pages of clarity beats 30 pages of fluff. Geniuses know that less done well beats more done mediocrely. This applies to everything. Your morning routine doesn't need 17 steps. Your workout doesn't need 2 hours. Your content doesn't need daily posting. Strip it down to what actually moves the needle. Delete everything else. And here's where it gets really interesting. Strategic laziness extends to mental load, too. Most people carry around hundreds of micro-worries, half-finished thoughts, vague intentions, and mental clutter. I should probably call that person. I need to figure out that thing. Maybe I'll start that project someday. This mental baggage is exhausting. It's like running software in the background. You're not actively using it, but it's draining your battery constantly. Geniuses close these open loops aggressively. If something matters, they capture it in a system and schedule it. If it doesn't matter, they delete it from their mind entirely. No lingering. No maybe someday. Either it's in the system or it's gone. David Allen's Getting Things Done methodology is built on this principle. Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. Once you externalize everything into a trusted system, your mind is free. And a free mind is a powerful mind. Now, let's talk about strategic laziness in communication. Geniuses don't respond to everything. They don't engage in every conversation. They don't feel obligated to reply instantly just because technology makes it possible. They understand that attention is finite. Every response trains people how to treat you. If you reply immediately to every message, people learn they can interrupt you anytime. If you batch responses and set boundaries, people learn to respect your time. This isn't rude. This is sustainable. You can be kind and clear. Hey, I check messages twice daily, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. If it's urgent, call me. Otherwise, I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Most people will respect that, and the ones who don't, they're not respecting you anyway. Geniuses also apply strategic laziness to learning. They don't try to learn everything. They identify the core 20% of knowledge that unlocks 80% of results in their field, and they go deep on that. The rest? Ignored. You don't need to read every business book. You need to deeply understand 5 core principles and apply them relentlessly. You don't need to master every productivity hack. You need 3 solid systems that you actually use. Depth beats breadth. Mastery beats dabbling. Focus beats variety. Here's the uncomfortable part. Strategic laziness requires confidence, because it means saying no when others say yes. It means being still when others are busy. It means looking like you're doing less when everyone else is doing more. But results speak. And when your results outpace people who are working harder, they start asking questions. That's when you smile and think, I'm not working harder. I'm working on what actually matters. So here's your challenge. For the next week, don't add anything to your life. Instead, eliminate one thing each day. One task, one commitment, one distraction, one mental loop. By the end of the week, you'll feel lighter, clearer, more focused. And you'll realize something profound. You were never too busy. You were just busy with too much of the wrong stuff. Strategic laziness isn't about doing less work. It's about doing less useless work. And that's the difference between exhaustion and excellence. Now, let's dive into something that sounds controversial, but is absolutely critical: the power of boredom. Yes, boredom. That thing we've been trained to avoid at all costs. That uncomfortable feeling we immediately numb with our phones, social media, news, videos, anything to fill the void. But here's what geniuses know. Boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the birthplace of creativity. When was the last time you were genuinely bored? Not just waiting for something, but actually sitting with nothing to do and not immediately reaching for distraction. For most people, the answer is, I can't remember. Because we've engineered boredom out of our lives, every waiting moment is filled, every silence is interrupted, every idle second is consumed by content. And in doing so, we've killed something essential: space for original thought. Geniuses protect boredom fiercely. They create what some call white space in their calendars, blocks of time with absolutely nothing scheduled. No meetings, no tasks, no content consumption, just space. Why? Because the best ideas don't come when you're consuming information. They come when you're processing it. And processing requires empty space. Think about when your best ideas have arrived. Probably in the shower, on a walk, right before falling asleep, staring out a window during a long drive. What do all these moments have in common? Low stimulation, no input, just your mind wandering freely. This is called the default mode network in neuroscience, the brain state that activates when you're not focused on external tasks. This is when your brain connects dots, synthesizes information, generates insights. But you can't access this state if you're constantly feeding your brain new inputs. You need gaps, pauses, boredom. Cal Newport talks about this in his work on deep work. He calls it productive meditation, spending time with a specific problem while doing something that doesn't require mental focus, like walking. The walking occupies just enough of your mind that the rest can roam freely around the problem. Geniuses do this intentionally. They take long walks without podcasts. They sit in silence without music. They stare out windows without phones. And that's where breakthroughs happen. Richard Feynman, the legendary physicist, used to sit in a room doing nothing, just thinking. People thought it was weird. He called it his most productive time. Einstein said his theory of relativity came during moments of daydreaming, not during intense study. Lin-Manuel Miranda got the idea for Hamilton during a vacation where he let his mind wander. These weren't accidents. These were the natural result of giving the brain space to do what it does best: create. But most people never experience this because they're addicted to stimulation. Not real addiction like substances, just constant low-grade need for input. And this addiction is quietly destroying creativity across entire generations. Here's a simple test. Can you sit for 10 minutes doing absolutely nothing? No phone, no book, no music. Just sitting. Most people can't. The discomfort is too intense. The urge to fill the void is overwhelming. But geniuses can, because they've trained themselves to be comfortable with emptiness. They know boredom isn't something to escape, it's something to embrace. So how do you build this skill? Start small. 5 minutes of deliberate boredom daily. Sit somewhere comfortable, set a timer, do nothing. Your mind will race. You'll think of 1,000 things you should be doing. That's normal. Don't fight it. Just observe. Gradually, something shifts. The discomfort fades. Your mind settles. And in that settling, ideas emerge. Not forced, not searched for. They just appear. This is where genius lives. Not in constant grinding, not in endless consumption, but in the quiet spaces between. Average people fear boredom. Geniuses cultivate it, because they know The next breakthrough isn't hiding in another article, another video, another podcast. It's already inside you, waiting for enough silence to surface. So stop filling every gap. Stop fearing stillness. Stop running from empty moments. Instead, create them intentionally. Guard them. Use them. Because the most valuable ideas you'll ever have won't come from what you consume. They'll come from the space you give your mind to breathe. And that space? It looks a lot like boredom. Let's shift gears and talk about something incredibly practical, but often overlooked. The Sunday ritual. Most people spend Sunday evening dreading Monday morning. Geniuses spend Sunday evening preparing for Monday domination. Here's the difference. Average people let the week happen to them. Geniuses design the week before it begins. Every Sunday, or whatever day works for your schedule, high performers conduct what I call the weekly design session. It's usually 60 to 90 minutes, and it's one of the highest leverage activities you can do. Here's how it works. Step 1. Review the past week. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. What worked? What didn't? Where did time go? What drained energy? What created energy? Write it down. Patterns emerge quickly. Maybe you notice meetings on Wednesday mornings always leave you depleted. Maybe Tuesday evenings are when you do your best creative work. Maybe checking email first thing kills your momentum. These insights are gold. They're your personal data revealing how you actually operate, not how you think you should operate. Step 2. Brain dump everything. Get every task, idea, worry, commitment, everything floating in your head onto paper or screen. This isn't organization yet. This is just emptying the mental warehouse. Most people carry 30 to 50 open loops in their mind at any time. No wonder you feel overwhelmed. Get them out. All of them. Step 3. Identify the big 3. Out of everything on that list, what are the 3 outcomes that, if achieved this week, would make you feel like it was a successful week? Not 30 things, 3. This is brutally hard for most people because it requires choosing. But choosing is power. These become your non-negotiables for the week. Everything else is secondary. Step 4. Architect your calendar. Now you take those big 3 and you actually block time for them in your calendar. Not, I'll try to find time. Real blocks. Protected. Treated like important meetings. Because they are. Then you add your other commitments, meetings, calls, whatever's already scheduled. Then you look at what's left and ask, where are my energy peaks this week? How do I protect those? Maybe you block Monday morning for creative work before any meetings. Maybe you batch all calls on Thursday afternoon. Maybe you reserve Friday mornings for learning. The key is you're designing, not reacting. Step 5. Set up friction and ease. For things you want to do more of, make them easier. Gym clothes laid out. Books on the nightstand. Healthy food prepped. Workspace clean. For things you want to do less of, add friction. Phone in another room. Apps deleted. Notifications off. Social media logged out. Willpower is overrated. Environment design is underrated. Step 6. Mental priming. Spend the last 5 minutes visualizing the week. See yourself executing. Feel the satisfaction of completing those big 3. Anticipate obstacles and plan responses. This isn't woo-woo. This is mental rehearsal, proven to improve performance in everything from sports to surgery to business. Then you close the session. Sunday evening is done. Monday morning, you wake up with clarity, not confusion. Direction, not drift. Here's what most people do instead. They wake up Monday, check email, see 17 fires, and spend the entire week in reactive mode. By Friday, they're exhausted and wondering what they actually accomplished. Geniuses refuse to live this way. They know 1 hour of planning saves 10 hours of chaos. They know that designing your week is how you design your life. Because life isn't one big project. Life is made of weeks. And if you can master your weeks, you master your life. So this Sunday, try it. Just once. Spend 90 minutes designing your week. See what changes. You might be surprised at how much control you actually have. You were just never using it. We've covered a lot of ground, from prime time to the 24-hour rule, from zero wait time to energy management, from strategic laziness to the power of boredom. But now let's bring it all together with what might be the most important concept of all: identity-based time use. Most people approach productivity backwards. They focus on behavior change. I need to wake up earlier. I need to stop procrastinating. I need to be more disciplined. But behavior is just the surface. Underneath behavior is identity, and identity is what determines long-term success. Here's the difference. Behavior-based change asks, what should I do? Identity-based change asks, who am I becoming? When you approach time management from behavior, you're constantly fighting yourself. You need willpower, motivation, external pressure. Because deep down, your identity hasn't shifted. You still see yourself as someone who procrastinates, who wastes time, who struggles with focus. But when you approach it from identity, everything changes. Because now you're not trying to act differently, you're becoming a different person. And that new person naturally makes different choices. Let me give you an example. 2 people want to use their time better. Person A says, I'm terrible with time management, but I'm going to try really hard to improve. Their identity is bad at time management, trying to change. Every disciplined choice feels like a battle against who they are. Person B says, I'm someone who values time deeply and invests it wisely. Their identity is time investor. Now every choice isn't a battle, it's an expression of who they already are. See the difference? Person A is trying to override their identity. Person B has shifted their identity. And identity always wins, eventually. This is why New Year's resolutions fail at such staggering rates, over 80% by February. You set behavior goals without shifting identity. You try to force actions that conflict with how you see yourself. Eventually, identity reasserts itself, and you snap back to old patterns. It's not a willpower problem, it's an identity problem. Geniuses understand this deeply. They don't just manage time, they embody a time-conscious identity. It's not what they do, it's who they are. So how do you shift identity? First, through language. Stop saying, "I'm bad with time," or "I'm always late," or "I'm a procrastinator." These statements reinforce limiting identities. Every time you speak them, you're voting for that version of yourself. Instead, "I'm learning to value my time more." "I'm becoming someone who honors commitments." "I'm building better systems." "I'm someone who invests time wisely." Notice the shift? You're not defending an old identity, you're claiming a new one, and your brain listens to what you tell it. If you constantly say, "I'm lazy," your brain will help you be lazy. It's just trying to keep you consistent with your self-image. But if you say, "I'm someone who takes action quickly," your brain starts looking for ways to make that true. Language shapes identity. Identity shapes behavior. Be very careful what you call yourself. Second, through evidence. Every small action that aligns with your new identity is a vote for that identity. You took action within 24 hours of getting an idea? That's evidence you're a doer, not just a dreamer. You used waiting time to learn instead of scroll? Evidence you're a learner. You protected your prime time? Evidence you're someone who respects their peak hours. Collect these votes. Acknowledge them. Write them down if you need to. They're not just good behaviors, they're identity proof. They're data points that say, "This is who I'm becoming." James Clear talks about this brilliantly in Atomic Habits. He says, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become." You don't need 100% perfection. You just need 51% of votes going toward your new identity. That's the tipping point. Most people think they need to be perfect to change. Geniuses know they just need to be consistently better than before. If you make 5 time-conscious decisions and 3 unconscious ones today, you're winning. You're moving in the right direction. That's enough. Third, through environment. Your environment should reflect and reinforce your identity. If you're a focused worker, your workspace is clean and distraction-free. If you're a lifelong learner, books are visible and accessible. If you're a high-energy person, your fridge has quality food, not junk. Your environment isn't neutral. It's either supporting your new identity or sabotaging it. Think about it. If you want to be someone who reads daily, but your phone is on your nightstand and your book is in a closet somewhere, which identity is your environment supporting? The scroller or the reader? Make the right choice easy and the wrong choice hard. Put the book on your pillow. Put your phone in another room. Your environment should be designed by your best self to support your average self. Because here's the reality. On your best days, you have discipline. On your average days, you rely on systems. And on your worst days, systems are all you have. Design your environment so that even on terrible days, you still move forward. Fourth, through community. You become like the people you spend time with. This isn't motivational fluff. It's documented in research. Social psychologists call it social contagion. Behaviors, attitudes, and habits spread through networks like viruses. If your friends constantly glorify busyness, waste time, and lack direction, that becomes normalized. You'll unconsciously adopt their relationship with time. If your circle values focus, growth, and intentional living, that becomes your standard. This doesn't mean ditching everyone who doesn't meet your new standards. But it does mean being selective about whose influence you absorb most, and actively seeking people who embody the identity you're building. Find mentors, join communities, follow people online who demonstrate genius-level time use, not to worship them, but to normalize what's possible. When you see someone consistently using their prime time for deep work, taking action on ideas immediately, or protecting their energy ruthlessly, it stops seeming extreme. It starts seeming normal. And normal is what we gravitate toward. Now, here's the beautiful part about identity-based time use. It compounds exponentially. When you start seeing yourself as someone who uses time like a genius, you naturally start making genius-level choices. Not because you're forcing yourself, because that's just what you do now. You don't debate whether to scroll or read during wait time. You're a learner. You read. No decision fatigue. You don't wonder if you should protect your prime time. You're someone who respects peak hours. Of course you protect them. It's automatic. This is how behavior becomes effortless, not through willpower, but through identity alignment. And here's the long-term game. Every day you live from this new identity, it gets stronger. Every week, the old identity fades a little more. Every month, it becomes more real. Every year, people start describing you differently. She's incredibly focused. He always uses time so wisely. They just get so much done. But you're not getting things done through superhuman effort. You're just being yourself. And yourself happens to be someone who treats time like the precious, non-renewable resource it is. So stop trying to change your behavior through force. Start shifting your identity through choice. Because genius isn't something you do occasionally when you're motivated. Genius is something you become consistently through aligned action. And when who you are matches what you want, time management stops being a struggle. It becomes your natural expression. Let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in productivity discussions: the role of reflection. Most people are so busy doing, that they never stop to evaluate whether what they're doing actually matters. They're climbing the ladder without checking if it's leaning against the right wall. Geniuses build reflection into their systems, not as an afterthought, but as a core practice. Because without reflection, You're just repeating patterns, good or bad, without understanding them. There are 3 levels of reflection that high performers use. Daily reflection, 5 minutes. Every evening, before shutting down for the day, ask 3 questions. What did I accomplish today that moved me forward? Where did I waste time or energy? What's one thing I'll do differently tomorrow? That's it. 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes create awareness, and awareness is the first step to change. Most people end their day by collapsing into distraction. Geniuses end their day by extracting lessons. This habit alone separates mediocre from exceptional over time. Weekly reflection, 30 minutes. Every Sunday, or whatever day works for your schedule, conduct a deeper review. Look at your calendar from the past week. Where did time actually go? Compare that to where you intended it to go. The gap between intention and reality is where growth lives. Ask yourself, what were my 3 biggest wins this week? What drained my energy unnecessarily? What patterns do I notice in how I used time? What's one system I can improve next week? This isn't about judgment, it's about data. You're a scientist studying your own behavior. No shame, no guilt, just observation and adjustment. Monthly reflection, 60 to 90 minutes. Once a month, zoom out even further. Look at the big picture. Are you moving toward your goals or just staying busy? Is your identity shifting in the direction you want? Review your big wins. Celebrate them. Seriously, celebration matters. Your brain needs positive reinforcement to keep going. Review your failures and setbacks. Not to beat yourself up, but to extract lessons. What can you learn? What can you do differently? And most importantly, are you becoming the person you want to become? Because that's the ultimate measure. Not how much you got done, but who you're becoming in the process. This reflection practice might seem like it takes time away from doing, but it's the opposite. Reflection gives clarity, and clarity saves massive amounts of wasted time. Think about it. Would you rather spend 30 minutes weekly reflecting and correcting course, or spend months going in the wrong direction before realizing it? Reflection is the GPS adjustment. Without it, you're driving blind. Now let's address something crucial. What to do when you fail. Because you will fail. You'll waste time, you'll break systems, you'll fall back into old patterns. This is guaranteed. The question isn't if, but when. And what you do in that moment determines everything. Most people respond to failure with shame. I'm such a failure. I knew I couldn't do this. Why do I always mess up? This shame spiral reinforces the old identity and makes recovery harder. Geniuses respond differently. They expect failure as part of the process. They don't see it as evidence they're broken. They see it as data for improvement. When a genius wastes 3 hours scrolling instead of working, they don't spiral. They pause and ask, what happened? What triggered this? What can I learn? Maybe they were exhausted and need better sleep. Maybe they were avoiding a difficult task and need to break it into smaller pieces. Maybe they were lonely and need to schedule social time. There's always a reason, and finding it prevents future failures. This is called a failure autopsy. Just like doctors perform autopsies to learn what went wrong, high performers analyze their failures to extract lessons. Here's a framework for when you fall off track. Step 1. Acknowledge without judgment. I wasted time today. That happened. Not, I'm a terrible person who always fails. Step 2. Understand the trigger. What caused this? Was I tired, stressed, bored, avoiding something? Step 3. Extract the lesson. What can I learn from this? What system failed? What can I adjust? Step 4. Reset immediately. Okay, that hour is gone, but the next hour? That's mine. I'm back. This last step is critical. Most people waste 1 hour, feel guilty, and then waste 5 more hours because the day is already ruined. Geniuses cut their losses instantly. 1 bad hour doesn't become a bad day. Think of it like dropping your phone. If you drop it once, you pick it up. You don't throw it on the ground repeatedly because it's already dropped. That would be insane. Yet that's what we do with time. 1 slip doesn't erase all progress. It's just 1 data point. Learn from it and move forward. Remember, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. And progress includes failures that teach you what doesn't work. Let's close with the framework that ties everything together, the 1% daily improvement model. But let's go deeper than the surface understanding. Here's a powerful truth that most people miss. You don't need massive transformation overnight. You don't need to overhaul your entire life by next Monday. You don't need to become perfect starting right now. You just need to be 1% better than yesterday. If you improve just 1% every day for 1 year, you don't end up 365% better. Because of compounding, you end up 37 times better. That's the math of exponential growth. It's the same principle that makes investing powerful. Small, consistent gains compound into extraordinary results. But here's what people misunderstand about 1% improvement. It's not about doing 1% more work. It's about being 1% more effective. Maybe today you don't add any new habits. You just remove 1 distraction. That's 1% better. Maybe you don't work an extra hour. You just protect 30 minutes of prime time that you normally would have wasted. That's 1% better. Maybe you don't read an entire book. You just read 5 pages during a wait instead of scrolling. That's 1% better. The improvements are so small they're almost invisible, which is exactly why most people overlook them. They want the dramatic transformation, the overnight success story, the before and after that shocks everyone. But geniuses know that dramatic transformations are built from invisible improvements. They're patient with results, but obsessed with daily progress. Here's why this model is so powerful. Small improvements don't trigger resistance. Your brain has a threat detection system designed to protect you from change. Big changes activate this system. Your brain sees them as dangerous and creates resistance, procrastination, self-sabotage, rationalization. But small changes? They slip under the radar. Your brain doesn't perceive them as threats, so there's no resistance. You just do them, and then they compound. This is called the aggregation of marginal gains, a concept made famous by British cycling. They didn't look for one massive breakthrough. They looked for hundreds of 1% improvements. Better pillows for sleep, better hand washing to avoid illness, heated shorts for optimal muscle temperature. Individually, these changes seemed trivial, but combined, British cycling went from mediocrity to dominating the Olympics and Tour de France within a few years. Same principle applies to your time use. So here's how you apply this practically. Today, you don't need to master all 24 hours. You just need to improve 1 hour. Maybe it's your morning hour. Instead of scrolling, you read for 15 minutes. That's it. One small improvement. Tomorrow, you keep that morning reading and add something else, tiny. Maybe you turn off email notifications. 2 improvements compounding. Next week, you identify your prime time and protect just 1 hour of it. Another layer. Week after that, you implement the 24-hour rule on one idea. Another layer. Week after that, you batch one type of task instead of doing it randomly throughout the day. Another layer. Slowly, invisibly, your relationship with time transforms. But it doesn't feel hard because you're never trying to change everything at once. You're just consistently adding small improvements. This is how geniuses operate. They don't revolutionize, they iterate. They don't seek perfection, they seek progress. And progress, accumulated over time, becomes mastery. Here's your starting point, and I want you to really think about this. What's the smallest improvement you could make today that would make your use of time slightly better? Not the biggest, the smallest, because small is sustainable. Small doesn't trigger resistance. Small doesn't require motivation. Small just requires a decision. Maybe it's turning off one notification that constantly interrupts you, reading for 10 minutes instead of scrolling before bed, taking one walk this week without your phone, saying no to one commitment that drains energy without adding value, blocking 1 hour tomorrow for focused work on something important, going to bed 15 minutes earlier tonight, drinking water when you wake up instead of immediately checking your phone, putting your phone in another room during dinner, setting the specific time to check messages instead of constantly reacting. Pick just one, not 5, one, and do it today. Tomorrow, you keep that one thing and add another tiny improvement. This is how identity shifts. This is how behavior becomes automatic. This is how average people become exceptional. Because exceptional isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a direction you move in, 1% at a time. The person who improves 1% daily will always outperform the person who tries to improve 100% once and burns out. Consistency beats intensity. Always. In every domain, in every situation. Think about it. Would you rather have someone who works with genius-level focus for 2 hours daily, or someone who works with scattered attention for 12 hours? The 2-hour person will accomplish more, feel better, and sustain it longer. Quality trumps quantity. Focus trumps time. And small, consistent improvements trump sporadic bursts of motivation. So stop waiting for the perfect moment to transform your life. Stop thinking you need a perfect system, perfect motivation, perfect circumstances. You don't. That's a fantasy that keeps you stuck. You just need today and the willingness to be 1% better than yesterday. Do that for a week, you'll feel the difference. Do that for a month, others will notice. Do that for a year, you won't recognize yourself. Your life will be unrecognizable. Not because of one giant leap, but because of 365 tiny steps in the same direction. Each step barely noticeable, but the destination extraordinary. And here's the final truth that brings us full circle. Geniuses aren't born, they're built. 1 hour at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. You have the same 86,400 seconds they have, the same 24 hours, the same potential. The only difference is how those seconds are invested. Every genius you admire, every successful person you look up to, started exactly where you are now, with the same doubts, the same distractions, the same limited time. They just made different choices, consistently, over time. And those choices compounded into the results you now see. The only question is, what will you build with yours? Because time is the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't care about your background, your resources, your past failures, your current circumstances. It just keeps moving. And every single day, it gives you another chance to invest it wisely. Rich or poor, famous or unknown, successful or struggling, everyone gets the same 86,400 seconds daily. The playing field is level. What you do with those seconds? That's entirely up to you. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, treat time like the currency it is. Stop spending it carelessly. Start investing it intentionally. Track where it goes, not obsessively, just with awareness. Protect your prime time, those 2 to 3 peak hours when your brain is sharpest. Take action within 24 hours of any strong inspiration. Use zero wait time. Turn every idle moment into learning time. Manage your energy, not just your hours. Batch similar tasks together. Eliminate ruthlessly. Say no to anything that doesn't serve your goals. Design your weeks proactively every Sunday. Build the identity of someone who values time deeply. Do this for 30 days, and I promise you'll start seeing results. Not overnight miracles, but real, compounding progress. And that progress, it builds momentum. And momentum becomes unstoppable. Momentum is a beautiful thing. It makes hard things feel easier. It makes discipline feel natural. It makes excellence feel normal. And once you have it, maintaining it takes far less energy than building it from scratch. 6 months from now, people will ask how you changed so much, and you'll smile genuinely smile and think, I didn't change everything. I just changed how I used my time. And that changed everything else. Your health improved because you had time for exercise. Your career advanced because you had time for skill building. Your relationships deepened because you had time for real connection. Your creativity flourished because you had time for deep work. Your peace increased because you had time for rest. Not because you found more time, because you used your time differently. Because that's the secret. That's what this entire journey has been building toward. You don't need more time. You need to use your time like a genius. And now you know how. The 86,400 seconds are already yours. They're already in your account. They're already ticking. The clock started the moment you woke up today, and it won't stop until you close your eyes tonight. The only question left is, what will you do with them? Will you spend them or invest them? Will you drift or design? Will you react or create? Will you stay average or become exceptional? The choice, as it always has been, is entirely yours. Final thoughts. If you take nothing else from this, remember these core principles. 1. Time is unbuyable currency. Don't spend it, invest it. Every hour should return something valuable: growth, health, connection, or progress. Treat it more carefully than money, because money can be earned again. Time cannot. 2. Not all hours are equal. Find your prime time, those 2 to 3 hours when your brain operates at peak capacity, and protect them fiercely for deep work. These hours are gold. Guard them like treasure. 3. Inspiration has an expiration date. The 24-hour rule. Take action within 24 hours of any strong idea, or it will fade into the graveyard of forgotten dreams. Inspiration doesn't wait. Neither should you. 4. Dead time doesn't exist. Zero wait time means transforming every waiting moment into learning time. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. They're invisible, but they compound into life-changing hours by year's end. 5. Manage energy, not just time. Your state determines your output more than hours worked. Work in the right state, not just the right schedule. Rest is requirement, not reward. An exhausted genius is just an exhausted person. 6. Delete, delegate, defer, do. This 4-step filter eliminates decision fatigue and mental clutter. Most tasks should be deleted. Many can be delegated. Some can be deferred. Only the critical few deserve your immediate, direct attention. 7. Strategic laziness wins. Eliminate relentlessly. The more you remove, the more you accomplish. Stop glorifying busyness. Start optimizing for impact. Being busy is easy. Being effective is rare. 8. Boredom breeds brilliance. Your best ideas emerge in empty space, not constant consumption. Protect white space in your calendar. Embrace stillness. Let your mind wander. That's where genius lives. 9. Identity trumps behavior. Don't just act like someone who values time. Become someone who values time. When identity shifts, choices become effortless. You're not forcing behavior. You're expressing identity. 10. 1% compounds into genius. You don't need transformation overnight. You need 1% improvement daily. Small, consistent progress creates extraordinary results. Trust the process. Trust the compound effect. These aren't hacks. These aren't tricks. These aren't shortcuts to success. These are principles. Fundamental truths about how exceptional people use their most valuable resource. And here's the most empowering truth of all. None of this requires special talent, privilege, or luck. It just requires awareness and choice. You already have everything you need. The time, the potential, the opportunity. What's been missing isn't resources. It's clarity about how to use them. Now you have that clarity. Now you just need to act on it. So go. Take that first 1% step today. Protect that first prime time hour tomorrow. Take action on that idea within 24 hours. Turn that next waiting moment into learning time. Say no to that energy-draining commitment. Batch those scattered tasks. Eliminate that one persistent distraction. Start small. Start messy. Start imperfect. But start today. Start now. Because your future isn't built in some distant moment when everything aligns perfectly. When you have more money, more time, fewer responsibilities, better circumstances. Your future is built right here, right now, in this very hour, with the choice you make next. And that choice? It's entirely yours. No one can make it for you. No one can give you more time. No one can invest your hours for you. This is your life, your time, your responsibility, your opportunity. Welcome to the Genius Path. Your 86,400 seconds are waiting. The clock is ticking, not as a threat, but as a reminder. Every second is a chance. Every minute is an opportunity. Every hour is an investment. Use them wisely. Use them intentionally. Use them like a genius, because that's what you're becoming.